Senator Fifield.
Thank you, Mr President. I think it's important to pause for a moment to reflect on the reason why we are debating this censure motion. It's because Labor and the Greens combined to suspend standing orders. And what we witnessed in that act was that the band is back together, that the much-heralded divorce proved to be only a trial separation. But of course, those of us on this side know that Labor and the Greens
Just wait a minute, Senator Fifield. On my left, on my right, order.
We've got 20 minutes.
On both sides. On both sides. On both sides.
I wouldn't be talking if I was you, Helen.
On both sides. The speakers have been heard in silence. It does not help if either side intervene when a speaker is on their feet. The Speaker is still entitled to be heard in silence, and if you wish to participate in the debate, that is obviously something that remains within the province of yourself in this chamber. So I ask you to respect the Speaker from both sides. Senator Fifield.
Thank you, Mr President. As I was saying, that the band is back together. Those of us on this side knew that Labor and the Greens were continuing to secretly cohabitate. And I know those on the left of politics around Australia will be rejoicing for this reunion that's here. But the other interesting thing about the debate that we've had this afternoon is the deployment of Senator Faulkner. With the Labor Party, it's a situation of, in case of emergency, break glass and deploy Senator Faulkner. Whenever an argument is flailing, whenever an argument is failing, roll out Senator Faulkner to try and lend some of that well-honed gravitas to the argument that is before the chamber. And we saw that today, Senator Faulkner in high dudgeon, doing his very best confected outrage routine. So we know when we see Senator Faulkner in this place mounting an argument that Labor have effectively given up the case that they are prosecuting. Because if Labor had their heart in this, if Labor believed for a second the argument that they are seeking to put in this place, why would we not have had another single frontbencher other than Senator Wong? We had Senator Moore in the suspension motion. I acknowledge Senator Moore's contribution there. We moved down the line. Senator Conroy, I don't think so. I really don't think Senator Conroy would be in a very strong position to contribute to this debate. Perhaps Senator Polly. Well, OK, I'll let that be a rhetorical proposition. Senator Cameron, again, I don't think so. Look, I guess colleagues are getting my point. There aren't too many options when it comes to people to prosecute cases from the front bench on the other side, and when an argument is particularly in trouble, bring back Senator Faulkner. And we saw that today, so we can put that aside. Mr. President, there have been some very serious allegations made today against Minister Nash. She's been accused of misleading the Senate. She's been accused of failure to comply with an order of the Senate. She's been accused of a failure to account for her actions. They are serious allegations, and they should never be made lightly in this place. As Senator Brand has said, to impugn someone's motives, to impugn someone's behaviour, to impugn someone's conduct without being able to back that up is a very serious thing to do. It's a very appalling thing to do. And what we've witnessed in the course of this debate is that the goalposts have continually changed as to what it is that Minister Nash is supposedly guilty of. The goalposts keep changing. And I must say I have been following this debate in this place and in estimates and in question time very closely, and I have found it extremely difficult to work out what is the precise charge against Minister Nash. And the first, I guess, that was levelled was the question of, was there a delay between the first question that Minister Nash answered in question time and when she came into the chamber to provide additional information that she thought was appropriate and necessary. Labor have been getting hysterical. They have been hyperventilating over the fact that Senator Nash came into the chamber on the same day. On the same day. I mean, I would have thought that that is the minimum standard, is a colleague comes into this place on the same day. The time period that elapsed was 6 hours, and we're meant to gasp that there was a 6-hour gap. And I would encourage colleagues who may not have been in the Community Affairs Estimates Committee last week to refer to the Hansard of Senator Stephen Parry, the Deputy President of the Senate. And an unusual thing happened in that Senate estimates hearing. Senator Parry sought the opportunity in that committee to make a statement. Usually, we know that the format for estimates is that questions are asked and answers are given. Senator Parry sought the indulgence of the committee because he wanted to assist in their deliberations. And I acknowledge that Senator Faulkner and Senator Wong provided Senator Parry with that opportunity. And what Senator Parry wanted to do was to forensically go through that 6-hour period, which Senator Nash supposedly was using to not come into this chamber. I refer colleagues, and it's well worth reading, the Hansard of Wednesday the 26th of February 2014, Community Affairs Estimates, where Senator Parry forensically goes through the pattern and the flow of what happened in this chamber on that day and makes very clear that Senator Nash availed herself of the first practical, reasonable opportunity to provide additional information to this chamber. And I know colleagues around this room do hold Senator Parry in some regard, and Senator Parry did a very forensic job at analysing the pattern and flow of that day. So I think we can put completely to one side that argument that Senator Nash in some way delayed providing information to the Senate. She takes her responsibilities to this chamber very seriously, and she took the first appropriate and reasonable opportunity to do so. Then there's the issue of the failure to comply with the Senate order, which I guess is the latest charge. At the first charge with the 6-hour delay, this failure, supposedly, to provide information to the Senate chamber is the latest charge. And Senator Nash did respond to the order of the Senate. Now, we all know in this place that when you respond to an order of the Senate, those who put in the request mightn't necessarily like the way that you respond. They mightn't necessarily like the content of your response to the Senate. But the fact is, Senator Nash did respond to that order of the Senate. And the contents of her response, which was in relation to documentation to do with Mr Furnival, her former Chief of Staff, I'm pretty unsurprised by the content of her letter. And I quote, she says, "The correspondence referred to contains information relating to the personal affairs of an individual staff member. It was provided to me on a confidential basis, and it is not practice of either past or present governments to divulge personal information about individual staff. I've outlined the relevant undertakings to the Senate previously, and I refer honourable senators to the relevant Senate and estimates Hansard." That is an entirely appropriate approach. Staff members of members and senators are entitled to some confidentiality about their particular circumstances. They're not members of Parliament. They can't defend themselves in various forums. So I think it's an entirely orthodox approach that Senator Nash has taken in responding to the order of the Senate. The other allegation, which I guess has been thrown about between the first charge of a delay in providing information to the Senate and the last charge of failing to respond to an order of the Senate, the accusation that's bounced around between those two goalposts has been that of a conflict of interest. And I have listened closely to Senator Nash, and I believe that appropriate steps were taken to deal with potential conflicts of interest. I mean, in any ministerial office, there are a range of potential conflicts of interest. What matters is what steps are taken, how those are managed. And we know that there were steps taken towards divestment and there were appropriate undertakings given. So I struggle with the proposition of a conflict of interest. And then, between those two goalposts I mentioned before, we've had thrown around the issue of disclosure. Has Minister Nash appropriately disclosed all that she needs to? Well, Minister Nash has answered question after question in this chamber during question time. Minister Nash has answered question after question, hour after hour in the Community Affairs Estimates Committee. And we have this debate today, where Minister Nash, in the debate about the suspension of standing orders, she did not shy away from rising to her feet and making her case. No hesitation at all. She has taken every opportunity to provide a full account of herself. And I guess what this debate really comes down to, and I think it's something that we probably would all agree with, is that public life is a test of character, ultimately. The conduct of senators in this place is a test of character on a daily basis. The conduct of ministers in that role is on a daily basis a test of character. And I have no doubt that Minister Nash, as a senator, passes the test of character in terms of her behaviour and conduct. I have no doubt that Minister Nash, in her capacity as a minister in the execution of her duties, passes that test of character. But I want to draw a contrast between Minister Nash as a frontbencher and Senator Conroy as a frontbencher when it comes to a test of character in the conduct of one's duties as a frontbencher. And I think we all recall Senator Conroy in the Immigration Estimates Committee, where it's now a matter of record that Senator Conroy accused Lieutenant General Angus Campbell, DSC, AO, of being engaged in a political cover-up. I witnessed Senator Conroy warming up for that particular activity in the Communications Estimates hearing, where he accused Dr Ziggy Swatowski of being a liar, of misleading the Senate and of being in contempt of the Senate. So if we are going to compare the conduct of frontbenchers as a test of character, I'll put Minister Nash up against Senator Conroy any day of the week. And I can't help but think, knowing how fond Senator Conroy is of Jack Nicholson movies, having cited a few good men, that actually in that Immigration Estimates hearing he was combining two other Jack Nicholson roles, and that was Jack Nicholson in The Shining and Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Such is his fondness for Jack Nicholson movies. But I refer to Senator Conroy to make the point that those opposite throw words around like confetti. They forget that words have meaning. And that is why we saw Senator Conroy in Communications Estimates talking about Dr Swatowski lying, talking about Dr Swatowski lying, talking about Dr Swatowski being in contempt, talking about Dr Swatowski misleading the Senate. Contempt, misleading, lying. And we're seeing that pattern of throwing words around as though they have no meaning here again today. This time we're seeing the word censure, that this chamber seeks to censure Minister Nash for the charges which are laid out by Senator Wong. And I make the point to those opposite, words do have meaning. You can't just walk into a Senate estimates hearing and accuse someone of being a liar. You can't just walk into a Senate estimates hearing and accuse someone of misleading the Senate. You can't just walk into a Senate estimates hearing and accuse someone of being in contempt. And you can't just walk into this place and throw the word censure out there in relation to the activities of a minister.
Order. You've had your opportunity to participate. Senator Fifield has the call.
I guess I would call this approach a Conrovian approach, Mr. President, to discourse in this place. Those opposite do need to pause, and they do need to think very carefully before they make charges against people, whether they be witnesses at estimates hearings or whether they be ministers in this place. You must think very carefully about the words that you use and that you choose to level against people in the conduct of the parliament. Mr. President, there are, I think, examples of genuine misconduct in public life. Genuine misconduct in the form of the Australian Labor Party before an election saying that they would not introduce a carbon tax. I think that is serious political misconduct. And they did. We know they did. And before another election, they promised that they would be abolishing the carbon tax. And they've opposed that.
Order. Senator Thorpe, Senator Lyons.
And I refer to those two examples because, as I say, the debate that is before us is about character. That is the charge that is being levelled at Minister Nash, that she has failed the test of character in her conduct as a minister, which I reject. But I level at the other side that they have failed collectively the test of character in public life with their repeated misleading of the Australian people before subsequent elections. And I make the charge that Senator Conroy has failed the test of character in his conduct as a frontbench member. And Senator Wong has said that if this motion passes, then she thinks that Senator Nash should resign. Well, we're going to see it for what it is. It's a trumped-up charge, and no such thing should happen if this motion passes. But I think Senator Conroy should resign for his conduct. If we're talking about character and failing tests, he has failed it clearly, absolutely and utterly. Mr President, at the heart of the allegations that have been made in this censure motion is that there is or has been a vested interest of some sort at play in Minister Nash's office, which again I have seen no evidence of. But on the other side, we see vested interests at play each and every day. We see that at play in terms of the cheek-by-jowl relationship between the Australian Labor Party and various trade unions. Not all trade unions, there are some good trade unions, but there are some trade unions that are not so good, and we know one of those in the form of the HSU. So, if we want examples of vested interests at play inappropriately in public life, then we need look no further than the relationship of the Australian Labor Party and certain trade unions. We also have seen in the Australian Greens some very curious relationships between the Australian Greens and certain individuals who give money to the Australian Greens. There are vested interests at the heart of the activities of the Australian Greens. Mr President, Senator Nash is a person of the utmost integrity. Those of us who know her well have no difficulty in trusting in the execution, the appropriate execution of her roles and responsibilities of a minister. Those of us who know Senator Nash have no difficulty trusting that she appropriately fulfils her obligations as a senator, but even more important than that she fulfils her obligations to this chamber, to be accountable to it, to be answerable to it, to answer each and every question put to her. We have seen her do that day after day after day. Mr President, we do need in this place to be very, very careful before censure motions are moved. As I say, words have meaning, words have power. They are not to be used lightly, and we have seen a pattern emerging from those opposite where they will say anything about anyone for political advantage. They will say anything about anyone for political advantage. And Senator Conroy has been exhibit number one in that. And I would urge those opposite to take the opportunity to pause for a moment and to step back from this motion. It is not justified. It is not warranted. The charges against Senator Nash have not been proved. She has taken every opportunity to give an account of herself, and the fact that Mr Furnival has now left Senator Nash's office, as far as I'm concerned, means that the matter is closed. I don't accept for a second that there was an issue at play, but the fact that Mr Furnival has now left the office puts beyond any doubt that there is any matter that remains to be addressed. I would urge colleagues to not support this motion. I would urge the Australian Greens to not support this motion. I would urge Labor senators to not support this motion. It is one of the gravest allegations that can be levelled against a colleague that they are deserving of censure. Senator Nash is not deserving of censure. She is a person of integrity. She is a senator of integrity. She is a minister of integrity. She has given tremendous service to this place. She will continue to give tremendous service to this place, not only as a senator, but as a minister for many, many years to come.
Thank you.